Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. Let's continue. We've got still some stuff to do. I need 4 more victories with the Mage Shaman. Let's go ahead and try the Shaman Wild this time. Wild Shaman play. Got into maybe some controversial topics in the last recording. Hopefully, I don't think anybody watches these videos anyways, so but hopefully it doesn't turn into something crazy. Let's see. Last time I talked about DirectX 12 getting Deus Ex getting the DirectX 12 update, and Deus Ex had that augment your pre-order, which I assume was pushed upon them. From what I've heard, it was pushed upon them by Square Enix, and from pretty much the same source, so I'm getting all my information from one person, which is probably not good, but it is a news reporter of some sort, of some degree of trustworthy. There's this game Square Enix is releasing for cell phones called Guardian Codex, and it also has the general concept of the augment your pre-order, in the sense that you get a certain number of coins based on the number of people that pre-order this cell phone game. Now, pre-ordering cell phone games themselves is an insane concept. It is ridiculous and something that should never be allowed. And I don't know even how you would do that on an Apple store or the iOS store or the Google Play Market. Yeah, none of that makes any sense at all. You'd have to go to like a third-party thing. It is, as far as I could tell, missing some of the elements of the augment your pre-order system, because while it had the main idea that you get more the more people that pre-order,
your opponent's left.
There was no tier system in it where you could pick one of 3 things, so that you, in such a way that you couldn't actually get all the pre-order bonuses regardless of what you did. And there was no nebulous we'll release the game early if enough people pre-order it. This time it is giving you pretty specific numbers on the number of people that would need to pre-order this cell phone game, but the numbers are rather high. Now, Guardian Codex is a sequel to Guardian Cross, and the game itself looks fine. But this is just like Square Enix. What can we do here? I mean, the biggest problem with the video game industry is that there are money-grubbing, investor-based management companies that buy these things. I think every single video game company needs to be private, needs to never go public, needs they all need like independent angel investors that won't take shares in the company. That's, I suppose, in part what the idea of Fig was all about, is that you could invest in the company and not get shares in that company and take like majority control of it. But Fig really hasn't gone anywhere other than to fund the Double Fine
let's show our guests a good time.
That's the only thing I've seen on Fig, or heard about on Fig, and Fig, nobody else has said anything about Fig in a long, long time. But I guess that's kind of what it needs to be. It's like every single video game creator just needs
Do
to
you hear its
to
call?
leave their current job, which this isn't saying,
Listen
and they
closely.
really shouldn't do it, but they all need to leave their jobs, pull their money together, start their own company that's private, never go public, never sell shares, go everything in the Kickstarter, which I guess if individuals could really fund games, that would work, but it just doesn't work that way. The funding needs to be there, but the control does not, and that's inherently the problem. Is that every bad job I've ever worked, which is for me probably every job I've ever worked, and for a lot of people, probably the same. For every job I've worked, the money needs to come from the employee, but the control from the employer, I didn't feel like it was really necessary. Often because every manager I've had has been just stupid. I mean, I can't say it any other way. They don't have any real things they need to do, so they have to run around like a chicken with their head cut off, pretending like they're actually doing work.
Listen closely.
I suppose that's one of the beautiful things about YouTube when YouTube is like this, which usually it is. It just leaves the creators alone. I've never gotten a call or an email from YouTube saying, you haven't posted enough videos today. Post more videos. Or your last video wasn't very good. Post better videos. Or we'd like you to talk faster or speak with a more natural voice, or just cut out all those ums. I mean, none of this feedback, while maybe super helpful from a actual viewer, none of that kind of feedback I would want to hear from YouTube themselves, because YouTube's not watching my videos. They do have some like education and explanation videos that are sort of like that, but they're not very condescending, and at the end of the day they're telling you what they think you need to do to make your channel
Are you my master?
bigger, and it's mostly true. Like, I agree with it, at least.
Listen closely.
What was I talking about? How did I get on this conversation? Yeah, oh yeah, I was talking about the video game industry and just what a huge mess this thing is. Let's see. So, yeah, Square Enix is still doing garbage. Speaking of companies doing garbage, Konami, I guess, is not doing garbage anymore because they're not actually making games. But I recently played Castlevania Lords of Shadow, just finished it yesterday actually, and that game is just awful. And it's really got me interested in playing the original Castlevanias, which I probably should have done first. But I'm doing it for Halloween month. It kind of fit the theme well. There's vampires, there's werewolves, there's all kinds of monsters. That's about the best you can do. The Universal Pictures sets of monsters.
So kind of you to join me.
The mummy, the vampire, the Dracula, all of that. That's the best way I've learned to refer to them as. If you have at least 4 minions, deal 4 damage. There we go. So the idea was good. The game was just awful. The levels were super chopped up. They had Patrick Stewart doing super melodramatic voice acting, and like.
Why do you call?
And frankly, I just don't think Patrick Stewart is a good choice for a video game voice actor. How about we do this? Alright. I honestly doubt he's the right pick. Just because I've only heard Patrick Stewart cover one person, and that's Patrick Stewart. That's the only voice I think he can really do. And he's very recognizable, and the melodrama that the way he was reading it fit the terrible story writing in it.
My dream
It just ended up with not having a good game. It was constantly introducing new gameplay elements, different quick time events, different button presses. There's all kinds of combos and such that you could potentially get good at and use, like Devil May Cry, but the fights aren't scored like Devil May Cry. So instead of wanting to do any of that, you instead just run past the fights because there's no reason not to run past the fights. Like, you get a ridiculously. This is going to be interesting because it's going to kill everybody. It's going to. Well, I thought it was going to kill everybody, but no, I'm going to lose. I thought it was going to play all the spell cards he played, too. Cast a random spell for each spell you've cast.
We're gonna be rich.
Oh, so Yogg Saron only really works for a mage, doesn't it? So, yeah, it's just so awful, but it's strange that for a game so awful, a game that I really had no fun with at all, a game that has you fighting the ultimate evil of Satan at the end, and then has DLC of a creature even stronger than Satan, which makes no sense, and it really makes me want to go play Castlevania, particularly since we're never going to get a Metroid game, and the original Metroid games are like that. I guess I could go play Axiom Verge. I do have that, and haven't gotten around to that.
Liadrin!
Related to
My
Castlevania,
hell burns with holy fire.
I think, and this is my speculation, but some of the Japanese creators of the original Castlevania games now not working for Konami, because Konami doesn't make video games despite what they say, and even if they did come back into the video game market, I don't think anybody should buy any of their games. This is the first Konami game I've run into that I've recognized as a Konami game.
Job's done.
And it is doing some content IDs, but I haven't really run into anything yet. So we shall see. I may have to cut out a couple of cutscenes because they're doing audio-visual matches, but that's it. I had to do more in the realm of censorship to blur out boobs because of the game than I've really had to do cut anything so far. Anyways, but I guess it's right to say that it seems like a Western country, like America or something, made Lords of Shadow. So it's not like the same company because it was no Japanese people in that game at all. But I imagine the original creators of Castlevania were Japanese. And when I saw the developer blog for the game Bloodstained, which is the spiritual successor allegedly to the original Castlevanias. That was this guy too. So I'm hoping it's the same guy, and I'm not making the argument here that just Japanese people make Castlevania games better, although that argument in the evidence I've seen so far could be made, because they may just understand the concept. Lords of Shadow felt nothing like a Castlevania game, and I don't even know what a Castlevania game is. So I kept saying that. I was like, this doesn't feel like a Castlevania game to me. And I don't even know what a Castlevania game is, but from what I've seen of maybe 20 minutes of somebody running through a speed run of the original Castlevania games and all that, it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't, like 3D platforming has no connection whatsoever to two-dimensional platforming. It just, those are completely different things. 3D swinging a whip around, or a chain whip in this case, has no connection to 2D swinging a whip. And frankly, from that aspect, I would prefer just to have a sword. But whatever. Not every game has to have a sword. It's just the default is the default for a reason. Let's see. I want this one and this one. So, and the story was just terrible. I have to assume that if there was any story in the original Castlevania games, which there may not have been, because you're talking NES era games, that I imagine if there's any story, it's better than what I saw. Anyways, let's move on. Let's go down some BS levels here. Well, no, actually, we should go down the Japanese thing. So, Exceed, a division or parent company of Marvelous Entertainment, which I believe made Half Hero, a game I really didn't like, which kind of sucked because they specifically said gave me permission to monetize because I tweeted them, something I've stopped doing. And you know, content ID happens, and just disputing it through YouTube system is easier through fair use than it is to go try and contact somebody and get permission and all that. Again, it's a whole level of just where do I want to invest my time? Do I want to invest it in trying to find the games that have permission, which is what I was kind of paranoidly doing before, trying to avoid content IDs. And now it's just like, if somebody wants the content ID, I'll dispute it. If the content ID gets reaffirmed because they don't believe in fair use and they're lying, then I'll just edit out the audio. With YouTube's newly added this year also feature to remove audio tracks, it's stopped becoming as big of an issue. The channel, what I have to do for work on this channel actually has gotten a little bit more efficient in the last couple of years. When I first started, it really was a almost complete total minefield of, let's see, a random horde warrior.
May my ancestors watch over me.
It was almost a complete minefield of content ID strikes and community guideline strikes, and it kind of felt like regardless of how hard you try to be within fair use, you are still gonna get your channel eventually deleted, And now it doesn't really feel like that. And when I did the YouTube survey recently, I still said, you know what, I'm still kind of terrified that Content ID is going to erase my channel. Which really shouldn't be the case. But it's a lot better. So Exceed Marvelous Entertainment says that they are going to bring more niche Japanese games to Steam. Great. Now, how many niche Japanese games can you bring to Steam before you hit the culture clash is the real question. This is at least how my perspective is. You have the Japanese culture, which has public baths all over the place. Japanese people grow up, spend their entire life seeing more nudity than the very conservative United States. The culture clash is not so bad. Such a big thing in most European countries and such.
Job's done.
So it's mostly the United States that this is happening. On top of that, so Japanese are finally showing a little bit more nudity. On top of that, the games are Japanese games have a tendency to be romantic in nature, and in their romantic in nature, a good percentage of them have a tendency to be sexual in nature, and there is a much larger thriving market in Japan for full-on, we only want to be sexual in nature games from beginning to end. To the point that there are games where it just gets thrown in because, sex sells. So, how many... All of those are niche games right now to the United States market, to Steam. How many of those get on Steam?
Morgul versus
Uncensored.
Valera.
Not that many. In fact, almost none. I recently heard that some games come out, make censored versions, sell them on Steam, and then you go to their website and get the uncensored patch if you want it, which that actually works rather well for my purposes, and I think for Steam's purposes and everyone's purposes, as long as it's made obvious. In fact, it should be integrated directly into Steam. It's just like, here's the free DLC of an uncensored patch, and you can't get this unless your account is proven to be an adult, and the games by default are censored. And for YouTube, that makes it great. I have a similar issue with Honey Pop, which is a game I will eventually play, but it's getting on that list like Borderlands. It's like, when am I going to play this? I'm trying to think about what I want to do in December, as I'm starting to record videos that might fill up November. So I'm not quite sure. And I just don't really know. There's not enough Christmas games to do a Christmas theme. There's
Death does not scare me.
almost, there should be like a winter catch-up. I kind of have this feeling that maybe I should just go back and replay the Talos Principle as one of the games, and just like, here's a game I screwed up and I want to go back and play, so let's do the catch-up there. But I don't have that many games that makes sense for. In fact, the Talos Principle is about the only game that makes sense for. And then I want to do the Road to Gehenna too. And it certainly hasn't been long enough that I've forgotten all those puzzles, although I've probably forgotten most of them. So yeah, I just don't know what I'm going to do in December, and I don't know how I got on that conversation. I'm not forgetting what I'm talking about per se, I'm forgetting now why I'm talking about what I'm talking about. But yeah, more Japanese games. Definitely want that. More niche games from Japan. I want more niche games from everywhere. I want it to be censored on Steam because that makes it easier as a YouTuber. If I have to go in there and blur a bunch of scenes or cut out a bunch of scenes for Honey Pop, then that's the reason why I haven't gotten to it. And I believe that's how I got onto that conversation. Yeah. Let's see. There we go. So, which one do I want to talk about now that I have about 5 minutes? Interplay has put all its games up for sale on Steam. Also, Interplay has put all of its games up for sale in general. What this means, and I had to write this in this interesting way so I'd remember how to explain this. Interplay really hasn't released a new game in a long time as far as I can tell. And they're going out of business, effectively. And they're trying to sell their IP, their intellectual property to a new company. And that puts us in a very weird position now. Because all their games are on Steam, and I could certainly go through there and buy a bunch of games that I may never play. Which I really shouldn't be doing, because my budget really needs to be saved up for a new mattress, which is really dumb. But yeah, that's the problem. So yeah, I could buy the games now, or I can wait and see what they do with the games. Descent, they've already sold. Apparently they had Descent and then somebody bought it and put it on Kickstarter, and I think we're getting a new Descent. So there may be all kinds of remakes. Or it may just be re-releases, like Gearbox released the Duke Nukem 3D game. That too might just be the level of what happens. Or they may get purchased and then never acted on. And obviously Interplay is struggling for money. You don't put your games on Steam one day and then the exact same day say we're looking to sell all these products. They're probably, I would guess, trying to get sales on Steam to show how valuable the products are. Now, I think Interplay made like some of the Where in the World were Carmen San Diego games, but I don't think they have the original rights to it. I think the rights in that are
Death does not scare me.
and then never gonna get made again because of it. But
Tonight, a tale of
I remember playing PC games and then having Interplay as their company. But I cannot for the life of me think of a single game that pops out on my head. And I've already looked at the list of the games and they didn't jump out at me either. But, part of the problem is the way they put it on Steam. Some of them are listed as Interplay Entertainment. Some of them are listed as Interplay Incorporated. So, to see it all, you kind of have to just type in the word Interplay and see every search result that has that in the name or description, and some of those may be interplay games and some of them may not. It's weird. It's definitely weird, but it's better that there's movement there. It's better that you can buy the games down. I suppose for a YouTuber, my move would be to buy the games now. Unfortunately, as a game critic, I'm forever going to be in the position where I end up buying bad versions of games, and I end up like potentially pre-ordering when people should pre-order, and I end up just buying games that I'll never play even. That's sadly just the way it's gonna be, such also as I'm about to lose. So this is interesting. I've somehow managed to go through recordings here. This is my second recording. We're about to wrap this up without running out of things to talk about, but I imagine I will run out of things to talk about in the next recording. But I still have some topics, even though my whiteboard was not filled all the way to the bottom because I wrote smaller. I keep calling it a whiteboard. I should call it a blackboard. It is black. It's a digital blackboard with a green ink that shows up when you write on it. I don't know. I just think I think that's probably an indicator of I'm not so old as when I went to school. They had blackboards. I certainly saw some blackboards every now and then, but the actual classrooms all had whiteboards with the dry erase markers and such. Let's see. When a friendly minion takes damage, gain 1 armor. End the turn. Need to just hurry up and let him defeat me. I'm not doing great. Not doing great. I guess next recording we exhausted everything. We've tried everything. I now need to play on casual. Let's see. We'll go back and play everything once on casual. Mage on wild, mage on standard, and then shaman on wild and shaman on standard. That would be 4 games. If we got all of those victories, I would not have any extra work to do. Which I really hate, leaving after an hour and 30 minutes of playing and recording, still having to play for another hour or so. Anywho, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. Click it, make a donation. And if you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.